One day, Thomas was waiting at Farquhar Station when Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Thomas," said Sir Topham Hatt, "I'd like you to do something for me. I want you to work with a special purchase I acquired over the New Year." Just then, an oddly familiar engine arrived in front of Thomas. "Holy crap," said Thomas. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm Stephen," said Thomas. "Oh yes, I remember you now, Thomas." "Oh, it's been a while," said Thomas. "It's nice to meet you." "Well, I guess you two better get going then," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Off to the quarry now." "Let's go," said Thomas. Soon, Stephen and Thomas went off to the quarry to collect their load. The quarry was full of snow. It was still snowing then. Thomas's driver coupled Stephen to the car, and Thomas and Stephen were just waiting to go. Diesel, who was in a nearby siding, spoke rudely to Stephen. "You should be scrapped," said Diesel in an oily voice. "I really agree," said Harry. "Yeah, me too," said Bert. "That's really inappropriate of you three," said Edward, who was on the opposite end of the line. "I really agree," said Fergus, "so you shut the hell up, all three of you." "Yeah," said Bill, "you should." "I think you should too," said Ben. "It's really inappropriate of you guys to say stuff like that." "You need to behave yourself," said Mavis. "That would never suit his grace," said Duke on the other line. "Yeah, you three need to cooperate," said Percy. "Yeah," said Toby, "or you're going to be in trouble with Sir Topham Hatt." "Who cares?" said Scruffy. "Let's pay that Stephen out." And the truck soon began laughing. Toby got really cross and bumped Scruffy hard. Ned and Jack told Thomas to be careful, and soon Thomas and Stephen were off to the races. They soon popped up from the quarry with their special load off to Farquhar. They were backing up to Farquhar Station when they hit something. "What was that?" said Thomas. It was a very long train. "I think it's everyone else's work," said Stephen. "And indeed it is," said Sir Topham Hatt. "You need to do all their work for them today, Thomas and Stephen." Thomas's fireman coupled to the truck, and soon Thomas and Stephen were on their way, puffing with all of the engine's work and their own. It was a very long train, and they worked really hard to make sure they got the job done on time. They arrived back at Farquhar a few minutes later. "Man, that was a heavy load," said Thomas. "I know," said Stephen. "It's the longest I pulled in a while." Later, Thomas and Stephen were waiting at WellsWorth when Gordon popped by. "Hey there, you two," said Gordon. "Off to the races I go," as he popped by with the express. "He's going to get in a lot of trouble very soon," said Bertie, and I'm afraid he was right. Gordon was simmering happily at the station, just as it was about time to go. "It's time to go now," said Gordon's driver. "Back to the station." Soon Gordon puffed out of the station with the express. It was very slippery and very cold that day, and the rails were very slippery. Just as Gordon was puffing up Gordon's hill, it started to become very slippery. Then Gordon tried to puff down the hill, but he was slippering. He couldn't move an inch. "That's torn it," said Gordon's driver. "Now we're going to have to get some help." Gordon felt very embarrassed. The station master at WellsWorth told Stephen and Thomas the news. "You need to go help Gordon. He's stuck on the hill," he said. "Be careful." "Holy crap," said Thomas. "We'd better go help," said Thomas. "Careful, you two," said Trevor. "Indeed," said Terence. "You two be careful now. Don't want to fall off the rails." And soon Thomas and Stephen puffed off to Gordon's hill. The two backed up to the back of the train and soon coupled up. Thomas and Stephen puffed as hard as they could, but showering sparks came from their wheels, and Gordon as well, and they couldn't be able to move the train. "Damn it," said Stephen. "We gotta keep going." "I think we need some more help," said Thomas. Then Mavis came up and popped up to the back of Stephen. She tried her hardest, but it was no good. Then Bill and Ben came up. They tried their hardest, but they couldn't move either. Then Fergus and Edward backed up to the back of Bill and Ben, and they tried the exact same thing, but they couldn't move. Then Diesel, Ari, and Bert came up to the back of Edward, and they started pushing too, but it was no use. And then Toby came up and backed up to Diesel, but still no good. Duke, who was nearby, was cheering on the engines. "Go on, you all," said Duke. "It wouldn't suit his grace." Harold, who was nearby, saw the action and took off to assist. He dropped 2 bags right in front of Gordon, on top of his boiler. "Ah!" said Gordon. "What was that?" "Huh, Harold's just dropping some assistance for us," said Gordon's driver. Gordon's driver put the salt on the rails, and Gordon's fireman put the sand, mixing it together, and then Gordon was able to puff down the hill. "Hooray," said Gordon. "Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for your assistance," he whistled, as he popped back to the sheds with the express. Harold then left, and soon all the engines went home. The rails at the top of Gordon's hill were very marred by the marks left by Gordon's wheels. They puffed carefully to make sure they didn't damage them further. It was a very eventful day, and everyone was exhausted. They couldn't wait to get back to the sheds to rest their aching wheels. The Diesels felt very sorry and were very regretful of what they said to Stephen earlier. Percy took a few workmen after they left to mend the rails. It would take some time. Back at the sheds, everyone was exhausted. And then Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Everyone, I'd like to commend your efforts. The Diesels apologized to you, Stephen, for what happened earlier. And Thomas, I'm very pleased with your efforts," said Sir Topham Hatt. Thomas was very happy and fell to sleep.